All right, this is just meant as like a quick review on rounding. If you've never done rounding before, this will probably help you, but I'm really intending this for my students who have already learned about rounding, and I just want to remind them. So first of all, this is the place value table, which you need to know if you're going to do rounding. Because when you're asked to round a number, they're going to ask you to round it to a certain place value. And when they ask you to do that, what they're saying is they don't care about any numbers that come after a certain place value. So if they ask you to round this to the nearest 10th, they're saying we don't care about any of the numbers after that place value. So if they said round to the nearest 1,000th, we don't care about anything after the 1,000th place. We just care about everything before it. So when you're rounding, you're going to underline whatever the place value is that you're rounding to. So let's say I was rounding this to the nearest 10th. So I don't care about anything after the 10th, so I'm going to get rid of all of that. But you have to make a decision. Do I keep this 1 or do I round it up to a 2? And the way you decide that is by looking at the number to the right. If this number is 5 or above, then you round this up to a 2. If this number is 4 or less, then you just keep the 1. And either way, you drop everything that comes after it. Likewise, let's say they ask you to round it to the nearest hundredth. So I would underline the hundredths place. I have to decide whether to keep the 6 or round it up to a 7. So I look to the right. There's a 0. That's 4 or less. So I would keep the 6, throw everything else away. If they ask me to round this to the nearest 1,000th, here's the thousands place. Do I keep the 0 or change it to a 1? 3 is less than 5, so I keep the 0. Okay, so that's the idea with rounding. You're getting rid of everything that comes after the place value you're rounding to, and you have to decide whether to keep the number or round it up. So I've got a few examples here. So the first one says round this number to the nearest whole number. So when they ask you to round to the nearest whole number, what they're saying is they don't want any decimals. So in other words, they want you to round it to the ones place. So they want you to drop everything after the decimal. So the question is, do I keep this 5 or change it to a 6? So the number to the right is 8. If this number is 5 or above, then you round this up to a 6. So this number would round to 276. The next one says round to the nearest whole number. I did mean to do that. I thought I made a mistake. So again, 5 is in the ones place. We want to get rid of everything after the decimal. There's a 4 here. So 4 or less, we keep the 5. So this one would round to 275. The next one, round to the nearest 10th. So the 9 is in the 10th place. I look to the right, there's a 5 or above. I need to round this up. So I'm going to round this up to a 10. That means this is going to become 0, and I'm going to carry the 1 over to here, and this is going to become 6. So this would round to 346.0. So 346.0 is the same thing as 346. And normally you would simplify that to just 346. But really, when you're rounding to the nearest 10th, they're saying they care about the 10th place and everything before it. And so even if there's a 0 in the 10th place, you're technically supposed to write that 0 down because they want to know what's in the 10th place. Sometimes people are kind of inconsistent about this. I will tell you that sometimes in textbooks and things, they will just round this to 346. All right, and then the last one I have here for you wants us to round this to the nearest hundredth. So tenths, hundredths, so the 5 is in the hundredths place. I look to the right, there's a 3 there, that's less than 5. So I'm going to keep the 5, and so this would round to 345.95. All right, so hopefully that was helpful and useful. If so, give it a like and a subscribe. Until next time.